Hello everyone, I am Cătălin, I am part of CFC Holywood, and this is my resurrection story. My family and I live permanently in Northern Ireland since 2015, but we are originally from Romania. I was born in a very broken family with Greek Orthodox parents, and they were very young at the time. Actually, my mother met my father when she was only 16, and not very long after that she got pregnant with me. So imagine a child raising a child. Shouldn't be fully responsible, understanding her role as a wife and mother, how could she? And on top of that, my father was a very alcoholic and aggressive man. So obviously their relationship didn't last. When I was 1 and my younger sister only 3 weeks old, my mother abandoned us. And that was a very terrible impact that caused us to grow up with no parents, with no love, care and support, and with no home. I was living from place to place with different family members or relatives, and unfortunately 6 years in 2 different orphanages. Surviving in the state orphanage was really hard, mainly because the staff and the older kids will treat the younger ones very bad. Myself and so many others being victims of physical, verbal and emotional abuse. For instance, I could easily end up as a punching bag if an older kid would like to train, or if the older guys would like their rooms cleaned, I would end up brushing the floor carpet with the side of my palm until getting hurt. The food was always limited and very poor quality, and the older kids will always steal our dessert. I felt so intimidated so many times because no one was there to protect me. After all these years in orphanages, the child services placed me to live with a relative where I thought my life would be better, but it wasn't. And again, I suffered a lot of verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. And on top of that, I was living in terrible life conditions, such as no permanent water, heat during the winter, or electricity. I started to work since I was 13, but more than that, I was often kicked out from the house and being told that I don't have any value, or being reminded of my parents' failures. So I had to start life on my own at only 15, living in a community center. All these experiences and challenges caused a huge trauma in my life. Actually, met my mother when I was 14, and even then she asked me to not tell anyone I'm her son, and I felt so rejected. And that feeling of not belonging to anyone and anywhere destroyed so much my identity and self-worth, and very often thinking, what's the point of this life? I felt I was robbed of anything I was supposed to have as a child, and I felt so powerless and stuck facing the consequences of other people's choices that affected so much my life. Couldn't even dream or enjoy life, but just to survive and cope with pain. Unknown at the time, God was working in the midst of my situation, and my life began to change when I was loved and accepted by a local church, and especially by the youth pastor. I gave my life to Christ, and then God used people not only from Romania to support me, to mentor me, helping me to understand God and follow Him better. In high school, it became clear that my gifts could be used in Christian ministry, so I was encouraged to develop this further. I started to get involved in the church, in preaching, in the youth ministry or worship, and then later on I went to study theology to get properly trained and equipped for ministry. So in 2011, I've graduated with a bachelor degree in pastoral theology, and in 2015, I also completed a master's in theology. In the meantime, I got married, and for a number of years, I was a teaching and a youth pastor, loving so much to support others and invest in people. Going back to my story, My sister lived for about 12 years in an orphanage. Then later on, she met someone and got married in Northern Ireland, living here since then. In 2010, my sister and I reconnected with our mother right here in Northern Ireland. I was seeing my mother after 8 years and my sister for the first time in her entire life. Lots of tears, of questions and emotions, but we showed our mother forgiveness and acceptance. And despite that, our relationship still had many ups and downs. Because when you don't know God, you love only yourself, and when your heart is not changed, you can't show any remorse. A while ago, my mother told me that when she found out that she's pregnant with me, she thought I would ruin her life. So she climbed up a high tree and jumped down, thinking that the impact with the ground will kill the baby inside. I was shocked to hear this, and I instantly remembered my favorite Bible verse from Isaiah 49:15 and 16. Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she might forget, I will never forget you. See, I have engraved your name on the palms of my hands. Through the entire Bible, we see so many questions from people towards God and vice versa. But in this Bible passage, God, who knows everything, is asking himself a question. And of course, is a rhetorical one. God basically asking himself, how is this possible? Because whenever I've created the world, my intention was so different. This Bible verse always comforted so deeply my heart and reminds me every single day of God's promises. What people want to kill, God will always save. What people want to destroy, God will always restore. What people want to throw away, God will always keep. And what people want to forget, God will always remember. Despite my tough and rough childhood, being abandoned by parents, living with no love, care and support, surviving in orphanages, God still guided and guarded my entire life. Yes, I was abandoned by parents, but adopted by Christ. And now Christ gave me something that I never had, a family to love and be loved by. My wife and I have almost 10 years of marriage and 2 amazing kids. Christ gave me also back the relationship with my mother, because she recently accepted Christ in her life and the gospel started to change her mind, heart and behavior. And finally, Christ gave me a story to share and tell you today that despite your hardships and whatever you are going through right now, God will never forget you. He loves you so much because you are His creation, and actually He knows you by your name because it's engraved on the palms of His hands.